Hello and welcome YouTube and welcome to today's video. So this is one that I wanted to do for a couple sets now, but I kind of finally decided that, I should just go ahead and do it. And so this time around we're going to be looking at some of these like day 1/day 2 builds. And so an important thing to keep in mind, of course, is that these builds that I'm going to show you are basically my day 1 and 2 of playtesting. And the reason why, like, a lot of people go like, oh, why don't you do like deck and fights like sooner, faster, get them out quicker. Basically because like my day 1 builds tend to look a lot more different from what they end up being in the deck and fights, because I get time to test, I get to time to play dozens and dozens of games, and then I learn what's going to be good in that build, what can I cut, what did I think was amazing, what did I not think was amazing, and these things change. And especially day 1 and 2 and like the first few days of a set are always very experimental. Everyone's trying out new things, you don't really know what's good yet, the meta hasn't settled and stuff like that. But I think I'd rather still kind of get some kind of information out for the people that have been pulling for this set, and they want to build something day 1. It'll be very like applicable. So this is more so applicable to the JP players. If you're a global player and you're watching this when set 8 comes out, for you, I recommend watching my deck and fights, which will have come out over time, which will be more like in-depth videos on specific decks. Whereas here, there's not going to be any fights. I'm just going to show you some deck lists, talk about them, my thoughts making them, and that's literally it. And so there is, basically with all decks, I've played about like 1 or 2 games, except for one deck that I've been really into and kind of addicted to playing is Dungaree. So I'm going to leave that for last because it'll be a bit more in-depth. So first deck list is going to be looking at Vermilion the Blood. Now, a lot of us were quite disappointed with the Blood because, of course, he kept his count 3 cost. He doesn't gain extra power like Vermilion does, and actually has less powerful Vanguard swing on cross-ride than Vermilion does without cross-riding. But regardless, we have seen one of the top players, Ayaneru, actually doing pretty well with the deck and, getting consistent wins and, just doing quite well. And this is the build that I did. You might notice that it's more or less, it barely changed original Vermilion list from Aren, who won the Vanguard Zero Championship. And so this deck can still definitely run Saishin. A lot of decks are still afraid of Saishin because of the ability to snipe starters. And then on top of that, we're running 2 Rising Phoenixes for the extra draw, the Stormies because we still retire by effect to some extent, but it certainly is less than before. But she's still good because of, Death Scythe that gives you that Canvas 2 to retire. Still run some Shidens for the, kind of intercept blocking. Countercharge is very important right now, so we gotta max out on that. 12k attackers because like our grade 3s are basically all Vermilion apart from the Jin and the one of Dungaree as like a tech spot, which is a good tech slot. So of course Vermilion, that's the rank reward, and then the Blood. If you don't know already, he's Limit Break 5, Counterblast 3, he gains 5k and a crit for that turn in the following ability. When he attacks for the first time, he attacks the entire front row. And then cross-ride with Draconic Eyes of Vermilion, and then when you are cross-ridden, then his Limit Break 5 changes into Limit Break 4. So the deck is pretty solid. I played it for a couple of games, and in general, I just felt like this deck has 2 big problems. One is that if you ride the Blood without regular Vermilion, boy does that feel weird. But the other one is that it's just in general, like, you only realistically use the Blood like once per game. And so, like, the problem with that is that, like, of course you can use it more often if you heal or you get your countercharger to hit, but keep in mind that you still want to counterblast for this, and for this, and for this. So it's like, you realistically will be only using it once per game, maybe twice, depending on how it goes, how your on-hitters hit or not, and if you draw into them. But otherwise, it's a pretty alright deck. I think it does have some potential just being Vermilion, just being a strong deck that can like rush your opponent, can like ignore intercept, pop stuff, and then just go for this like crit if you still have the counterblast available to try and seal the deal. So it's still a pretty strong deck. I don't know where it's going to go. It's probably going to be tier 2, honestly, but we're going to see where it goes. Glory, deck that barely changed in my opinion. This is a bit different from my, I think, deck and fight for Maelstrom, but this is kind of more the optimal ratios for Maelstrom. So Teo is good because he makes magic numbers with a lot of things, and then also 21k with Maelstrom now, or 26 after you use Maelstrom's skill. Self-damagers just to get into Limit Break, play like 5 of those. And then Lazarus is actually quite important because now, because there's more cross rides with Teo, actually makes an 18k column when you can afford to make that kind of column. Otherwise, you're still relying on Basil and Diamantes as your multi-attackers. What you put on heal between Glory and Diamantes doesn't really matter because like you're not searching for either one of them, and whenever you draw into either one of them, it's good. So like you're not really mulliganing for your Diamantes in a way, but you kind of want to hit Basil or Diamantes throughout the first few turns. And for Glory, kind of goes the same, but a bit later maybe, so you could justify a heal on him as well. If you don't know Glory's skill, he is when he attacks the Vanguard Limerick 5, Cannonballs 2, he gains 5k in a crit, and then when the opponent Perfect Guards, they have to discard a random grade 3. If they cannot, then they cannot Perfect Guard. And then, of course, when you're cross-ridden with Maelstrom, then his Limerick 5 becomes Limerick 4. Sorry, I'm talking really fast, but there's a lot to get through in this video, so I don't wanna, you know, stall too much. We need to play 9 draws because it's Aqua Force. You gotta draw into your pieces to keep attacking, keep the tempo flowing, especially if there's more Narukami in the meta. You're definitely gonna be seeing a lot of field removal, and I mean, I'm feeling that at least one of the Narukami variants is gonna be quite strong right now, so that's something that you wanna think about. But yeah, so Maelstrom, not much changes. Literally just took out like the 13k attacker, put in Glories. That's all you need to do. Glory is just great. There is a chance that in the future, like the one thing that might change in this deck list is that we bring back Algos and Valeria, or one of the other, or both. Because with Glory you don't need to care about which attack he is, so you can attack with him first and then go like, you know, you can go with a Basil, then attack with this, then go like rear, and then go with the Valeria rear or Algos rear, and then you can draw another card on top of that. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Glory is overall, I mean, it's just a good guard restrict. You really will be surprised how often you don't have a grade 3 in hand, especially if your opponent's like whacking away at your rear guards all the time and you need to call them down to actually produce attacks. Then of course Ezel, luckily I pulled my 4 Platinas, is a really interesting deck because I think this will be one of the meta tops, simply because, like, not so much because of Platina, because Platina is good as just a finisher of that, like Counterblast 1, give 5k to everything, gain a crit himself, you know, it is good. But this is insane. The one thing that golds were missing was retire, because they would, you know, fill up a huge board, get massive on Ezel, and then just go swing rear, swing van, pass, you know, and have to rely on crits and stands to actually do anything. With this, with Blaster Blade Spirit and Blaster Dark Spirit, which we run a total of 5, you basically just say, if I top deck, I use Ezel Limit Break, top deck Blaster Dark or Blaster Blade Spirit, counterblast another one, bam, front row gone. And you just use that twice, opponent's front row is gone, now you can swing 3 times into face. And so that's why you want to run 5. A lot of Japanese lists are running 5 as well, exactly this ratio of 4 blades and 1 dark, because dark can only retire grade 2 or less, whereas blade can retire grade 2 or more. So it can still pop grade 3 rear guards if necessary. So that's quite nice. We've dropped the grade 2 self damagers, but we maxed out on the grade 1s. I'm still running Criff with the Gareth and Bowmain, so like the superior ride engine, but a lot of people have been trying out other things like the Ezel starter, which I think is quite bad, and then other people have been trying out Spring Breeze Messenger, which is also valid, I think, because you don't care about the superior ride as much anymore. I think you care more so about just, you know, Ezel finding Hue Blasters. Honestly, that's the most important thing. But the spirits really add a lot to this deck. They really enhance it like crazy in my opinion, and that's really cool. I think that's actually amazing in my opinion. Then moving on, here's my version of Azure Dragon / Luminal Dragon Beasties. So what was my thought process? I played a couple games of this deck, and actually I think it's quite strong for several reasons. First things first, Luminal Dragon as a card is actually not that bad. It's Limerick 4 on attack Vanguard, combos 2 to stand 2 Beasties. Doesn't have to be front row Beasties. He also gains plus 3k when he's boosted, but it doesn't have to be front row Beasties, so you can still use your other stuff to restand them. And, you know, like, for example, if you want, you can do, like, because this is what, Counterblast 2, right? So then you can still use the Counterblast 1 for the Blank Marsh. You can also maybe even run White Tiger, honestly, as another option for getting restands, because, like, Blank Marsh is really good because he is literally just like, when his boosted attack hits a Vanguard, Counterblast 1, restand one of your Beasties. But just restanding rear guards in 0 is not enough because your opponent gains power. So to circumvent that, we need rear guards that gain power. So, like, Golden Anglet gains 4k when he stands in your battle phase, so he becomes a 13k attacker, and then if he stands one more time, he becomes 16. Do you see a pattern? Then we have Yamato no Drake, who also restands, he's 14, restands again, he's 18. So even with the first restand with a boost, he's 17. Then he, 21, and then he restands again because your Blank Marsh hit or something, and then he can swing for 18 on his own, and if you got a trigger, of course, that's swinging for even more. So it's very, very nice. So this deck is not so much boosted by the power of, like, Illuminal, but it's more so boosted by Blank Marsh being an amazing card, and then Golden Anglet, as well as Yamato no Drake, being amazing rear guards that help to gain power on the rears. Because if you can't gain power on your rears, it's just not enough. So this, of course, is good. It's on attack, restand too. So you restand these, you can swing with them unboosted, and then swing with them boosted, and then still extend with blank marshes. So I think for that reason, beautiful. Actually, really feels quite strong. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. I'm still not sure on what the optimal deck is. I don't know if these are important. They're beast deities, so I think they are. I'm running counter chargers because it feels like you counterblast a lot, but in some games you don't. And then this, because Azure Dragon is still a nice backup, you know, and it is a cross ride, so you kind of want to do it, you know. And then I'm still not sure on the starter choice, so that's like the stuff that I'm gonna have to tackle over the coming days, you know, before I make the deck and fight. So that's the beast deity list. Then let's look at OTT. Here we have Goddess of the Sun. So there's a few options you can take, but this list I've been enjoying quite a lot. So you can either take the option of like running Tsukuyomi, not for the stack, because of course Goddess of the Sun shuffles, but more so for getting the free ride. So you don't have to ride from hand, but Tsukuyomi is ride for you from your, you know, from your top deck. But I decided to run a pure Amaterasu list, and it was surprisingly quite strong too, because Amaterasu, like Goddess of the Sun Amaterasu, simply just searches you any card on attack. So you can search for Toms, you can search for PG, search for anything, and it's pretty strong for that reason. So I think you might even want to play 4 Toms, honestly. But I was running basically Red Eyes to get some more souls, so this will also be a 12k attacker, and then running Susanos. So basically just have a bunch of 12k attackers, have, you know, pretty nice rear guards because you have like Gemini, these are 10k attackers if you have a Susano, if you have an Amaterasu Vanguard, and so they can actually come in pretty strong. So it's more of a beatdown style deck that doesn't really care about what your opponent has, because you can either search a Tom to finish them off after you've like rushed them enough, or you can basically go for just search PGs to survive and then next turn come back. Stands are the most important thing here. Like, you don't have the stack power, but I might even want to play even more stands. But the thing is that you don't draw that much in this deck. As you can see, the only draw card is actually Goddess of the Sun, so you need to be careful with that. So I don't want to go too ham on the stands, so I think 5 is a good number, but you do require them quite a bit. And then I'm running this as a starter because it's still an extra draw, so kind of help you generate more pieces. But you do use all your counterblast on her, so you can't really run like Maiden of Libra and stuff like that. But this deck really needs more experimenting with. And I also invite the guys in the comments, you know, you guys watching here, to give me your lists if you've been testing these kind of decks, because like as you can see, with decks like this and Beast Deities, I still have a lot of questions. It's more so the decks like Vermilion, Maelstrom, Platina Ezel, I think I've more or less figured out to a certain extent. So that's kind of how I feel about those. Now the final one that I've actually played quite a bit of, you know, really quite a bit with, is Dungaree. And Dungaree, let me tell you, is super fun, like actually incredibly fun. Alright, let me tell you why Dungaree is actually pretty amazing. So Dungaree, of course, got the new cross ride, which is Dungaree Unlimited, who basically says, limit break 4, once per turn, counterblast 2, and then bind the top card of your deck. Choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards, retire it, and then if you have 3 or more cards in your bind zone, you gain a crit, which is really big, by the way. And then during your turn, this isn't the limit break skill, by the way, for each card in your bind zone, he gains 2k on top of that, so he becomes a fat beat stick on his own, and of course he's a cross ride with Dungaree. Like, regular Dungaree was already a nice grade 3 because he basically just point and click retire stuff for 1 counterblast, which is like the cheapest retire you'll actually get in the whole deck. And so Dungaree himself was already pretty cool. But this dude walks in and he's like, I'm gonna be big as hell in terms of power, I'm gonna gain a crit, and still be able to point and click retire. And on top of that, they got this amazing starter in Dandan, who literally says, when your Dungaree is placed, whether it's Vanguard or Rear Guard, you bind the top card of your deck, so that way your Unlimited becomes even bigger. And then you have another skill where you can bind him and choose any card from your bind zone and add it to your hand. So you don't decrease from your bind amounts, but you can take something that you bound and bring it back to your hand. So if you bound a PG, you take that PG into hand. If you bound like an important grade 2, take that grade 2 into hand. You bound a Stormy that you want to use to make a huge board, you take that Stormy, whatever you need. And you don't have to use it immediately. You can keep it for a few turns, wait until you have actually bound something important that you need, and then grab it. On top of that, Dungaree has a 12k attacker now, and like Stormy on her own, she gets 3k every time you retire something with an effect. Every retire in this deck is with an effect. Like, sure, you have to give up Saishin, but it's really worth it for this. The biggest counter to this deck, honestly, is Saishin, because losing that starter is big. Like, with that starter, reaching this, like, 3 bind requirement for his crit is nothing. You literally have to play regular Dungaree, and that's it. You already have it. And then, you know, you just cross ride it and that's it. Or like you call a, keep in mind, even if you call a rear guard Dungaree, his effect will proc. The only problem is that it kind of doesn't, it's just a vanilla until turn 3. So if you are playing in something like, you know, the Narkami Mirror and they have Saishin, it's going to be a bit bad. But, you know, we're running self-damagers to get into the limit break, to use his effect as well as Dungaree Unlimited's effect. We run a backup Vermilion just in case. I mean, it's like the next best thing. Still running Jins for the 14k attack, you know, boosted with these it's 20, boosted with this it's 21. If it has more power, then it's even bigger. So it's really strong. I think Dungaree is really strong. I had like a 7 win streak on stream yesterday with this exact list actually, and so I don't think this might change too much, but I'll talk about it more after doing even more testing for the deck and fight. But this is honestly the deck I've been enjoying the most from this set, but you know, we'll see if that changes over time, but for now it really is my most enjoyed one. But yeah, that basically summarizes it for this final set of Limit Break. There's still more stuff to take a look at, such as Musketeers and Spikes, but we'll get to that very soon. But you know, it's a pretty fun set. It's pretty hype. There's some really nice things going on here, and so no gameplay today, just some deck lists for you guys to look at if you want to test out stuff from the set 8. But yeah, I guess if you guys like this kind of video, let me know in the comments so that I know if you guys want to see one for the next set or not. I'm really hyped for the next set because it should have like Jewel Knights, and you know, it should have Eradicators and like archetypes that I really like. So I'm personally really excited, so I'm pretty hyped to see what the future has in store for us. But yeah, on that note, that's gonna be basically it for me today, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.